welcome to Dizzystitches. I just wanted to pop on here really quick and mention a channel that I just recently discovered. So this will be a channel shout out. The shout out is for Autism Family on YouTube. I've been watching these this family for a few days now, and I feel like I've learned quite a bit from this family. They will answer all the questions to parents with ASD children and dealing with the trials, good and bad. I highly recommend you watch this family and learn more about autism awareness. ASD is a disorder with a variety of conditions that challenge social skills, verbal and written communication, and repetitive behaviors. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention estimates 1 out of 68 children in the U.S. It's more common in boys than girls, affecting 1 of every 42 boys and 1 out of 189 girls. The signs and symptoms become evident between ages 2 and 3. Some cases have seen patient diagnosed as early as 18 months. Now, a little bit of my story is a family member noticed Eric by 18 months that he wasn't talking. And at first, me and his father were in denial about it. We were just like, no, he's just a boy. He's just on the slow side, you know, he'll catch up. And when he was a baby, I mean, you know, now that I look back on the videos of when he was a baby, it's more evident now, but at the time, it wasn't to me. But after this family member, it mentioned, you know, why isn't he talking? He should be talking. He's 18 months. I know other kids that are his age that are talking, or they're saying hi and waving bye-bye and gesturing. And Eric was not doing any of these things. And then we started noticing that he was twitching and hand flapping. But when I looked back on these videos of when he was a baby, he was doing these things. But I never assumed that it would be autism. But he would hand flap. He would not follow instructions. He would spin wheels on the floor, you know, on toys. He would turn the toys upside down and spin the wheels. He would not role play. He would not play with his peers or pay attention to them. It was like he was in his own world. He would pay attention to his siblings and sometimes to us, but his attention span it wasn't that long. When he was a baby, it felt like he was hitting those milestones, you know. He started saying some words like mama, dada. He would only say them a couple times, and then he wouldn't say them again. He wasn't feeding himself. Right now he's at the point where he can feed himself, but he still hasn't he still won't use silverware. He'll just twitch it around. He has the same thing about pencils, where he'll just, twitch it around. He's also still doing this. You still have to piece little foods, or else he'll stuff the whole thing in his mouth. He's very, very picky. He will not eat fresh fruit. Veggies vary, but he's more of a grain and potato. He eats more grains and more potatoes, like cereals, French fries. French fries is his favorite food. Also, calling his name is still a challenge to get his attention. Sometimes I have to get his attention, I have to tap on him, like on his hand, with syllables, like, "Hi, Eric, I love you." And he seems to respond to that a little bit better. And about paying attention to his peers, I would take him to the park, and other kids would come up and try to play with him and communicate with him, and he would just eye wander and run back and forth, on the sidewalk. He was on track with his motor skills. Like, when he started to crawl, actually he was kind of a late crawler. That's not a good example. But when he when he was rolling over as a baby, he was on track with that. Sitting up, he was on track. Walking and even climbing things, he was on track, or maybe even more advanced. He started walking by maybe 11 months, and that's normal. Walking between 10 and 18 months is normal. Climbing by 13 months. Sorry about that. My daughter came in and was talking to me. Anyways, yeah, he was climbing by 13 months, which is actually advanced. From what I've, researched. Climbing is normal around 18 months. And now, with Abel, we noticed by 12 months, by his first birthday. Before his first birthday, he was hitting all those milestones fine, and then all of a sudden, he would lose skills. Abel was feeding himself. He still kind of can do it. He doesn't really know how to scoop with the spoon, but he will put it to his mouth. He'll mostly hand feed all his foods. Even if they got a different texture or a slimy texture, where Eric would not touch slimy textures at all. Like spaghetti, he would not, he didn't want anything to do with it. But Abel, on the other hand, he's not really that picky of an eater, and he'll eat pretty much anything. He will eat fruits, he will eat veggies. He's not picky. There's only certain things where Abel has gained a skill and lost it. Like, he used to say mama and dada, and now he's not talking at all. You know, I've noticed he's already starting to do a different type of hand flapping than Eric. He goes like this. Abel is still not diagnosed, but I've been working with infant toddler, which is an early intervention, to get him in that process to get diagnosed, or, you know, to see if, you know, if he does have delay. When I went to get Eric diagnosed, I had Abel with me, and they were kind of interacting with him too. And they noticed that he was not making eye contact like he should be. After that appointment, I'm like, that doesn't seem right, because, I mean, Abel seems to be more social than Eric. He will pay attention more to his peers, other than his siblings. Occasionally, but I mean, most of the time he is. He will clap and smile at you, and he gives kisses, and he will gesture sometimes, like waving. But he's still not verbal in what he wants. He's kind of doing the same thing as Eric did around that age, and Eric still does. Like when he wants a sippy or a cup, Eric does it differently now, but when he was about Abel's age, he would just cry, you know, and he just wouldn't let me know what he wanted. But as a very attuned mother, I know what they want. And sometimes I get a slap on the wrist from my infant toddler person and say, you have to let them communicate it, you know. You're giving them reason not to learn. I mean, learn how to communicate. But, you know, most of the time, I know what they want. And you pick up on cues of your children through body language. You know, like, now Eric, he still doesn't talk. I mean, he does talk, but, it's more of repeating. Like, if you say, do you want a sippy? He'll say sippy. But when Eric was Abel's age, he would just cry. Eric used to not say words like that. With his body language, that's how I would know what if he wanted a sippy. He would run to the kitchen and look up at the kitchen, the sink, because right up there was where his sippies were. So that's how I automatically knew that he wanted a sippy. But like I was saying, I'm very in tune with my kids' needs. That sometimes I just don't give them a chance to communicate their words. I just wanted to say that every autistic child is different, just like every other person is different. some will excel in others better than others. And autism runs in my family. And in some ways, I think that I am. I'm more of just the ADD, you know. My brother, which is 16 months younger than me, has been diagnosed. And I'm 34, so he's like 32, almost 33. I remember when we were kids that, I didn't understand his condition, and I'm still learning about this, you know, which I figured this is why I should vlog about this, you know. But anyways, my brother was diagnosed at a young age. And I remember looking at pictures of us when we were younger and never seeing him look at the camera. He would always be looking away. He would have temper tantrums in public, and my parents didn't know how to deal with him. You know, I guess probably because they just weren't educated in it. And that's why I want to learn more about this disorder. Yeah. And he was adopted by a family that dealt with and raised autistic children. And I believe they're still doing it after 20 plus years. But Clinton, my brother, Clinton's his name, he just would have these tantrums a lot, and make repetitive noises, or just noises that don't make sense, and talks in words that don't make sense. He still does. Sometimes it's still hard to understand him, because, you know, one point he can be very serious and be very clear, and in another point it's like his mind goes somewhere else, and he speaks a different language, but he understands it. And I'm sure other autistic people understand it. But now he lives in his own apartment with help. He lives day by day by a routine. He does pretty much the same thing every day. He works. He works around other people with autism. Sometimes I feel that he's very lonely, but he also wants to stick with his routine. He goes to work, comes home, and he plays video games, he reads. He's very good at reading. and he always has been. When we were younger, I used to call him the human dictionary, because he was just so smart and knowing what really large words were. Sometimes he'd even make me feel dumb because he would say all these really long words and technical terms that I didn't understand, but he did. And me, you know, I was never diagnosed because I don't know. I don't know if I would consider myself autistic. If I would probably be a high functioning. But as a kid also, I do remember certain things that would bother me. Like some sensory things. Like touch. I didn't like it when people touched my face or my hair. In middle school and high school, I even had to take special ed classes and, you know, be on an IEP. But, you know, it doesn't really affect anything, you know. It doesn't affect my life, to my knowledge. Sometimes I still get bothered, you know, by noises. You know, that's probably every mother, but I hate hearing my children's crying. I mean, I hate hearing them cry. And I have a lot of memory problems. My memory is bad. Which is why I kind of pause this video sometimes, because, you know, I can't remember what I want to say. And I have some stuff written down. Anyways, I better go. I hear my kids arguing with the neighborhood kids. So, I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a little bit about ASD. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.